Welcome back, guys. This collections video here is based on this roundabout known as Bothwell Gardens, and we've also got Sinclair Gardens up at the police station as well. So you're going to see a bunch of folks from all different angles. This one, the candidate from February 2023, is turning right, third exit. So far so good. The fault that they make here is that they start to push outward here. Now that's too early. I would have suggested going round a little bit more and then doing the mirror signal manoeuvre routine, so just a little bit early at the move out there. On this clip, this is someone else who's also turning right, third exit, but you'll notice they're in the wrong lane. They're in the lane that only lets them go left or straight on. Now they come on with a right signal on, they pass exit 1, they continue round, and they pass exit 2. Guys, you can't do this. That's a fault, that's a serious fault, and they failed their test for that one. So make sure that you're on that inside lane until you pass exits 1 and 2 for that one. Now they're turning right, third exit on the roundabout. They correctly enter with a right signal on. What I'm going to do here is slow the footage down a little bit. Now they're making their way around on the inside lane with a right signal on. So far so good. They start to make a move over to the outside lane a little bit early. So this is the point where they check left and the signal left. Now it is a little bit early, but the fault was signalling right here. On this particular fault, everything was fine, except they forgot to signal left to leave the roundabout. Wasn't a serious fault, this was more of a minor fault. Okay, here's another example of a right turn, third exit, not quite going to plan. Remember, we do have the tutorial videos on how the correct way to do these roundabouts are, so please do check them out. In this scenario, they're on the inside lane, they've got the right signal on. At the moment, everything is fine. As they get past here, they should be starting to think about checking left and signalling left, maybe aiming over towards that lamppost, but they don't push out, or they don't push over early enough, and they end up switching quite late. There was no other cars, which is why it was marked as a minor. On this example, again, these are all the same collection of right turns from this approach. Everything is fine, they're going round, they do the mirrors, the signal, they switch over at the correct point. That's exactly how to do it. However, the fault here was they forgot to take the signal off and it was left on all the way up. So now you're going to see a bunch of folks for approaching from what we call the St Leonards entry. So watch what happens here. They join the roundabout. They're meant to be on this outside left hand lane, aiming almost towards the railings as indicated with the green arrow. They're not meant to touch this space here, and they switch. Serious fault for switching lanes. This example, same approach. This time they've been asked to take the right turn, third exit. We should be pushing out to this middle lane, but they were a little bit late at doing that minor fault as opposed to a serious fault. Now we're turning right, third exit. They move into the right hand lane. There's 3 different faults on this clip, so there's nothing wrong with the entrance except they don't have a right signal on, and they needed a right signal to do this third exit turn. So the first fault was no right signal. There's a move outward to the middle lane that was meant to happen, but you can see here we're between the 2 lanes, so the speed and the position were the other 2 faults on the way round there. Again, check the tutorials on the exact way to make these turns on these roundabouts. Here we were going second exit, following the road ahead, and good entry on the left side, the outside lane. No indicators required at all, that was fine. But there's a lane discipline fault here. You must keep to that left lane where the left circle was. You cannot cross into that lane. That's someone else's lane. So you have to almost aim the wheels back towards the left side, where the cars are waiting and where the railings are. So aim for those railings, and that will keep you to the left. However, here you can see the car goes over that line. That's a lane cut. Very common. We see this happen quite often, that one. The instructions to turn right, third exit towards the station. Good entry, right hand lane, right hand signal. The spiral out point is marked with a blue arrow. This is where you need to be pushing out. You can see here the learner doesn't push out towards the green circle where that lane is. So what they do is they continue round in this lane. Now what they should have done at this point, because they've missed their exit, is they should have continued round the roundabout as indicated with a green arrow. They could have just went round for a go around, but they decide to leave the roundabout here and go back the way they came. Now they did have access to do that. There was no big problem with that. It's not what I would have recommended, but they had access from that lane. So they come up to this roundabout, they go around this roundabout, and they make their way back to try again. So they move over to this right hand lane, and here we have take two. So on take two, we've got a good entry here, mirrors, signal still stays on to the right, and this time you can see that they try and move over, but they're still not quite pushing out far enough. They're still taking up this middle and right hand lane. So even on the second attempt, it was still marked as a fault. So when you're on a spiral roundabout and you're going from the inner to the outer position, it has to be very disciplined with the position. Now you're going to see a bunch of faults coming along. This is what we call Nethertown Broad Street, aka the Brig Chippy approach. They've been asked to turn right, third exit, following the signs for Edinburgh. Now I've got a ton of videos showing you the correct way of doing this, but you're going to see how common it is that people hear the phrase right turn, third exit, and they jump into the right hand lane just like this car did back in 2020. So if you choose this lane, you have only access to the third lane on the right here, which means, okay, you can turn right, but it will take you on to the roundabout, round the roundabout, and off the roundabout on the right hand lane. The right hand version of the two lanes. So the fault here was they didn't return to the left. They spent all the time driving on the right. Right, here we go. We've got a serious fault here. Now let's have a look. This yellow sign on the left tells us that 2 lanes become 3. So at the moment, although it's not very well marked, there's 2 lanes. Let me try and show you the middle marking there. Now that's how it should look. Now you can see the car at the moment is halfway between the two. We're driving straight on in the middle lane. They're asked to follow the signs for the station. The board up there tells us we need the middle lane. Well, they certainly do get into that middle lane because they're already central. So they should have been more to the left, then coming into this middle lane. So serious fault for road position. Now the rest of this roundabout was done fine. They went on, we had the right signal on coming round, and the exit left there, no problem. And that's the end of the independent section. We're in the left hand lane here. They're told to turn right at the roundabout, take the third exit. Have a watch. We'll do the same thing here. Tell me in the comments, do you see any faults at all? Well, anything? What do you think? Let's rewind. Right, okay. Let's pay attention to this yellow sign on the left here. Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. Let's call that sign 1. Now, we've got another board on the left there. Let's call that one sign 2. Now the instruction to turn right means that there's 2 lanes there. There's the middle lane and the right lane. And up ahead, we can see that the 2 lanes become 3. Now we'll bring that magic board back. We can see that it's the middle and the right lane. So you've got options. When you have options, it's generally a good idea to take the left of your options, which would be the middle lane here. So, how do we get into this middle lane? Well, remember sign 1 that we seen a wee minute ago? Here it's here. Now this tells us that 2 lanes are going to change to 3. And it also tells you, if you want the middle lane, where to access it from. So, the learner's already moved to the right hand lane, so the only access they have from here would be to stay in that right hand lane. They shouldn't try and get back over to that lane. It's not accessible. Watch what happens. Now, this was marked as a minor fault because there was nothing, you can see in the mirror, nothing was affected at the back. However, what you're about to see is a serious fault. Now, in this middle lane, that's your access path, and green, do not try and get into the red zone. Do not try and get into the red zone. And in slow motion, you can see there, I had to bring them back. I had to get them back into that middle lane. It was a dangerous fault. You can see in the mirror the blue car had to really put the brakes on because the learner tried to go from the middle lane to the right lane that they didn't have access to. Right, not a massive problem here. Coming down St Margaret's Drive, they're taking the second exit. This was February 2023. All that happened is they forgot to signal left to leave the roundabout. This time the learner is turning right, third exit, so they've got a good lane. They've got their indicator on to the right. They have a little bit of a look to the right. They see this car coming and they know that that car's either going to come off the roundabout there or come round this way. They make a decision to enter the roundabout and the brakes had to get applied because it turns out the car was not leaving, they were coming round. So make a decision, but you need to have a bit of a check to make sure that your decision was the correct one. Right, they've been asked here to turn right third exit. However, they don't move over to this right hand lane, so the only access they have from this position would be to go left first exit or straight on second exit. Either of those two things would have been fine, even though they were asked to turn right third exit. But what happens is the learner jumps over into the right hand lane and then makes their way around the roundabout. Nope, nope, nope. In this clip they're asked to take the second exit. Now the fault here was that they put an indicator on to the left here too early, which would tell people that you're going to exit number 1, as opposed to waiting until you're past the first one for exit number 2. Now the good news is they realised as soon as they started moving and they cancelled the signal, and then they waited and then they reapplied it. So minor fault for signal timing. Right, January 2020, a while ago now, they've been asked to take the second exit down towards Edinburgh. They have a look to the right hand side. They see that there's a car on the inside lane coming round, but there's no cars coming on the outside lane, so they decide to go. But you should not do that. You should wait until it's clear on both lanes in case that car on the inside lane wants to cross over to the outside lane. Now in this scenario, the car with the boat eventually does switch back over to the left hand lane. Now it might be that they wanted to come over earlier, but they were not able to because the learner had entered at the wrong time. Right, we're up to Sinclair Gardens. The learner driver is coming up towards the traffic lights. Keep an eye on the lights, they're still green. They suddenly stop. Lights are still green. And the reason that they didn't go was they didn't want to get stuck in that yellow box there. But the lights are still green, which means all the cars are going to be continuing to move. So it would have been clear to pass this. Now the danger here was, I'll show you the footage from the rear view camera, this car at the back didn't expect a sudden stop, and you can see when our car stops, this red car comes pretty close to us. so they got told, get a move on. Ahead at the roundabout, third exit, A907, following the signs towards Kincardine. The correct lane is chosen here. As you can tell, it says A907 on the road markings. That board up there is telling us it's the third exit that we're after. Now this particular roundabout, the exit that we want, the third exit, there's 2 lanes that exit there. Now if that's the case, it means there's 2 lanes that go on. And if you are a regular watcher of my videos, you will know that I always suggest taking the left option on approach, which would be this middle lane, because it takes you off the roundabout on the left version of that exit, in other words the normal driving position. Now here you can see the learners taking the right hand lane, which is the right option. So let's see how this plays out. How about you leave a comment saying what you think the mistake is going to be. So a good bit of lane discipline here. There's no sudden moves to try and switch lanes, and the access that this learner takes, as predicted and suggested, exited on the right hand lane. Look in the mirror, yellow circle. It shows it's clear on the left side at the back. So there should be a move back now to the left lane, to the normal driving lane. But there isn't. Now there's a car coming, so you couldn't go. There's another car coming up, so you couldn't go. But after them, there's a chance. Now they didn't take it. So the serious fault wasn't for choosing the wrong lane, the right lane. The serious fault was for driving in the right hand lane afterwards. Now in this clip, the instruction, this was someone else, different time, different mock test. The instruction was the same. It was to cross the roundabout taking the third exit. So again, middle lane would have been best. However, this person finds themselves in the right hand lane, same as the last clip. But the fault here is a little bit different. So from this lane, from this inside lane, you have access to quite a few different lanes. You can stay on the inside lane and go further round, or you can take this one, and this one will not let you go to the left where you were meant to go. This one takes you further round and off the roundabout towards Town Hill Retail Park. Not a serious fault, just a minor fault for a bit of planning there. Right, so now you're going to see some faults coming up St Margaret's Drive towards the police station roundabout. The instruction here was to take the third exit towards Town Hill. They correctly move into this right hand lane, which gives them access to the middle lane, which they should have been in, but they're in the right hand lane. So this right hand lane doesn't take you towards Town Hill, but it gives you some other options. What you can do in this lane is you could take the fourth exit towards Carnegie, as opposed to the third exit for Town Hill. So to do that, you would have been merging out. However, this learner decides to go around the roundabout. Now that's fine, that's doable as well. However, red light, didn't notice, brakes on. So they were just a little bit distracted because they went the wrong way and they're busy looking down at the road and their mind's gone, they're thinking about what they're going to do next and they forget to look at the traffic lights. So I had to tell them to get moving. That was another fault. They didn't notice the light went green either, and then they're just away in this middle lane. This middle lane's not going to take them back towards Town Hill. So the moral of the story here is, going the wrong way from what you've been asked to go is fine, if you do it safely. That means keep an eye on things like red lights. Keep an eye on things like green lights after a red light. And try to find the signs to go the correct way. It's easier. Right, going back a bit here, back to 2020, the learner was asked to take the third exit. This time the middle lane was used correctly. From this middle lane you can access two lanes. The Town Hall lane, marked in green. You can also go towards the second exit, marked in red. However, you've got to pick one of them. You can't be over the top of two of them, and that's what happened here, a lane discipline fault. This was another one where they were asked to go towards Town Hall. So they should be moving over into the right hand lane to access the middle lane. They don't, they stay left. So if you approach this roundabout from here, you can only go exits 1, city centre, and exit 2 towards Kincardine. That's your choices. Both of them, either of them would have been fine. There, or behind that lorry, would have been absolutely fine. However, they don't do that. They jump over and access a lane they didn't have access to. Right, coming along Carnegie Drive, the instruction is to turn right, fourth exit towards Eastport City Centre. That should be that right hand lane, the inside lane. This middle lane doesn't give access to do that. But what they do is they safely leave the roundabout. They come down the hill, they do a good lane change here, they go all the way around the roundabout, and they come back up and they turn left first exit. No harm done, that was fine. Here, follow signs Edinburgh A823. Good lane, they take the middle lane. Now the fault here was that because this lane allows people to go straight on and a right turn, it's a good idea to signal right to show that you're not going straight on, you're actually taking the right hand lane. Marked as a serious at the time. There's been a bit of discussion as to whether that should be minor or serious. It depends on the examiner. On this one, they were asked to turn right, third exit towards Edinburgh, which you cannot do in this left-hand lane. You need to be in that right-hand lane. This left-hand lane would let you go left and it would let you go straight on, exits 1 and 2. It does not let you access the third or the fourth exit. So here is a classic example of what not to do. Do not change from this lane across into that lane, and then definitely don't jump over to the next lane. Nope. No. This is the last of the faults today. This was a while ago. They were on test. They're coming along Eastport Street. They're told to go round towards Edinburgh, A823. Now the board here tells us that we're going down to the roundabout, turning right. The next board isn't actually there now, but it is in real life now. There's a board there. Trust me on that one. Anyway, it says A823 here, so the lane position at the moment is fine. This right-hand lane gives you access to the middle and to the right-hand lane as you come round here. Now you've definitely got to check to your left-hand side, because look, that car is actually stopping my learner from taking that middle lane. So see, it came from where the blue arrow is, and you can see that A823 is in the middle, and it is also in the right-hand lane. So it's in both lanes, therefore middle is best. But if there's a car trying to cut into that middle lane, you're going to be forced into using the right-hand lane, and that's what happens here. So the learner is almost bullied a little bit into that right-hand lane because of the silly car next to them. Now at this point, there's no fault from the learner. They're just forced into this right-hand lane. However, this lane still goes round towards Edinburgh. Now what you should do in this scenario is stay in the inside lane all the way around, come off on the right and then switch. However, what happens here is they try and switch back. Look, that car was there, the examiner had to push them out the way. So moral of the story is this: if you're coming along Eastport, take that inside right hand lane, try and get into the middle lane as you come round towards the roundabout. You have to check left. It's so important that you know that no one's trying to do what that car did. If someone is doing that, then stay to the right, come all the way round like the video clip showing you now, exit on the right, and at some point, the first available opportunity, bring the car back over to the left with a mirror signal manoeuvre routine, and you'll be fine. But don't switch. I hope these faults have helped. See you next time.